how to do some of his brave edges now that we messed around with him.
So we're just starting like in the middle. Like when is it gonna?
We're going right now. We're
doing it live.
We're doing it live.
Oh.
Oh.
Pay attention. Tom.
So here we go. So we're starting out Patroclus, and you picked the annoying ninja girl. You totally
No, I
did.
picked the smooth ninja girl.
Oh.
I picked Taki's goddaughter.
Yeah. But yeah, so one of the first things I wanted us to talk about is not that, is how to get whooped up on in Soul Calibur. No, is the new critical edge attacks, which are like the game's super duper super moves, similar to like supers and ultras in a Street Fighter, or nothing in Tekken.
And we should say that Soul Calibur has never had supers before.
Yeah, this is a new addition for the game. This is new territory.
It's had like the ultra moves where like your sword gets on fire and
yeah, in 4 they had
and
like execution moves basically,
Right.
which is something that Guilty Gear and like Mortal Kombat games had, where it was just like a one-hit finisher. But in order to do those moves, you had to fulfill like these ridiculous conditions where you had to like break off all of your enemy's armor, and you had to like do all this stuff, and basically it was just a non-issue for a lot of players. It never really came up, and a lot of people, I would imagine, probably never even saw one, besides like going into training mode and forcing it to happen. But yeah, so I can get up and I can do a couple of fireballs. Come over here and stand next to me, or kick me in the face.
I thought you wanted me to
like
go
that. When I did, that is true. I said come over and stand next to me. That did sound a lot like kick me in the face. You're right. So here you go.
Oh, he missed.
That's a critical edge. That's how you whiff one, and then this is how you connect one. Some of them connect differently. Some of them are just like singular strikes. Some of them are grapples. You'll notice that I had 2 bars of meter. Now I have 0. Performing a critical edge does cost 1 bar of your meter. Oh, good. Natsu's is especially annoying because it's not even like it's like an explosion that just happens all around her and soaks up a lot of the screen.
I will say though, while it's kind of weird that they put this in the game, I like that it seems like you can whiff them pretty regularly. I mean, just a simple sidestep made you whiff on that one. So I guess that's kind of nice that they aren't like totally abusable, I guess.
Yeah, they still feel powerful just because this isn't like a projectile frantic Marvel versus Capcom game.
Yeah. And I mean, with some of the new characters like Ezio, for instance, and Viola, who are both very prominently, they're both sort of projectile characters, because Ezio has his crossbow, Viola can set up her magic orb just wherever on the screen. So, I don't know, I lost my train of thought where I was going with that. But anyway.
Yeah, she's actually a really cool character. You should
we'll bust her out next. But yeah, so I mean, these critical edge attacks, having these flashy cutscene supers, I'm kind of torn on like their place in this Soul Calibur game. I mean they they look neat and they have their visual appeal and everything, but I mean, is that something Soul Calibur needed? It kind of feels like they looked at a Street Fighter, or they looked at some other fighters out there and were just like, well, this is something other fighting games have. If we want to be taken seriously, we need to stick in some meters and some flashy cutscene moves as well. And
I mean, for me, like Soul Calibur is a great series because it felt like you were able to do cool stuff with just the normal moves, and you were able to have really good fights with just the normal moves. So you didn't have to be an expert to really get what you wanted out of it or feel like you were doing well. And I think adding the super moves kind of adds a weird layer to it where it's just like a bit of flash that this doesn't really need. Like, it's already a pretty flashy game. A pretty flashy series, so I don't know.
Yeah, the super moves, I don't know. For me, like I said, I'm still torn on them. Right now, I don't feel great about them. I don't think they add a lot, and I think they're kind of an interruption. They kind of break up the flow. Because like what you were saying is like Soul Calibur, it's always been about, for me anyway, it's always just the fight. Sort of like how Tekken is just about the fight. You don't have anything else really to manage, and complexity is built into the characters. So if you want to have a more technical experience, then you'll pick a more difficult character, like a Viola, who I did not pick this time, and I was supposed to.
Way to go.
Or you can pick somebody really simple, like I'm playing Maxi. You just got to hit buttons, and he freaks out and hits you all the time.
He's like the Eddie Gordo of the Soul Calibur.
Very much so. Oh, so here's Astaroth. Oh, and it probably should have connected. It's a grapple, so he grapples you. What I was going on about is, so complexity is built into the characters rather than the mechanics.
Yeah.
And this one, it feels like they're going in the opposite direction. They're like, okay, well, why don't we build some more complexity into our game's mechanics, which I'm not sure if they really needed to do.
But I mean, is it complexity, or is it more just like, hey, we see the kind of crowd that Street Fighter has, the competitive crowd and all this other stuff. Maybe if we start adding more stuff that you would find normally in Street Fighter into our series, then people will start, kind of paying attention to it more, or it'll elevate it more within the fighting game community. I don't know.
Possibly. I think these are definitely decisions for like the hardcore fighting game fan, rather than like. And I don't know. I mean, how much crossover is there between like the hardcore tournament player and your average Soul Calibur players? Because I mean, for me, like I never really thought. I mean, I think the Soul Calibur games are great, and I've been playing them for years, and I always have fun. But I've never thought of them as like really hardcore, technical, competitive games. They've always just been, they've been fun and flashy and easy to get into and enjoy. So I mean, is that the kind of decision that they, I don't know, need to be making for this game, to be putting in these more complex, more traditional fighting game mechanics?
Yeah, I mean, Tekken always seemed to be Namco's kind of flagship competitive fighting game, and that Soul Calibur wasn't ever really meant to be.
Well, Soul Calibur it never lacked for depth. Like when the Dreamcast one came out, I played that constantly. Like a year later, my roommate and I were still playing 8-on-8 team battles just as ritual, like just about every day. And we were still finding new tweaks, new little tricks in the game, like things that like, oh, I've been playing this character for months, and I didn't realize that, Killick had this move or this one little characteristic when that.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm getting at. Is like
there's depth.
There was depth there, but it's in the characters. It's not in the system per se.
Right.
It's like it's finding the nuances and the tricks that you can perform for your character, rather than like playing the resource management game that you have to do in like a Marvel or a Street Fighter.
Yeah, and I especially I'm wary of the decision to tie counters to the.
Ah, yes. So you're referring to the guard impacts, which I mean the series obviously has always had a parry mechanic, but now in Soul Calibur 5 it's being tweaked so that in order to perform traditional parries, that requires 1/4 of the meter that you see there next to the two players' health gauges. So yeah, so parrying now, that limits it severely, because I mean, for me at least, you gain meter pretty slowly, especially if you're winning. You seem to gain it quicker if you're losing. And like you see there, Tira just got a free bar of meter because she's on her last round. She's about to get taken out, so the game rewards you with 1 free bar of meter. But yeah, so parries.
Way to suck. Here you go.
So yeah, parries cost meter now, and that's something else I know a lot of you have not exactly felt positively about.
That makes me so angry. Like parrying and stuff like that. The fact that it was, easy to do and difficult to master made it such an integral part of the Soul Calibur experience, and it kind of separated who was kind of really hardcore about the series and who wasn't. And the fact that like I see moves where I'm like, oh man, I totally would have parried that, but I can't because I don't have meter, makes me so angry. I mean, obviously, like I haven't played this game a whole lot. Maybe I'll change my mind or whatever. But just as a series fan, that's just kind of frustrating to me.
And you have to make the decision on the fly. Like, do I want to spend meter now, attempting a parry, or do I want to bank meter so that I can use my Brave Edge attacks, which I haven't discussed yet, or my critical edges, those super moves that we saw earlier. Like, do I want to try to parry, or do I want to bank my meter? And oftentimes, for me at least, I just bank it. So that means I block a lot more in this game. I turtle a lot more in this game now. I try to be less aggressive and just hang back, because like I don't have those parries to fall back on as readily anymore.
Well, there is also that other parry.
Yes, so there's also the just guard mechanic, where this is also a form of parrying. It doesn't cost any meter, and basically you have to tap guard right as you're being hit. This is sort of like how it worked in Third Strike, except you don't have to press a directional button. You just tap guard right as you're about to be hit, and you will perform a parry. But it just requires extremely precise timing, and you can't just like click and hold. You have to tap it, just like I can see you guys are trying to do it now, and it's just not working out.
That's why you play Tekken, isn't it, Brendan?
Once I find a counter with someone, I just keep trying to do that counter again and again and wind up looking like a total fool as I get slaughtered.
But yeah, that's another thing. It's extremely difficult to do, and once again, yeah, I find that it's just not worth it, and I just straight up block a lot more now. And of course, to counter all that blocking, there are crumple states in this game. If you block too much, your health meter will start to flash red, and your character, if you continue to block, like see Ezio, he's flashing yellow, it'll go to red, and then eventually you'll just collapse and be defenseless, and your opponent will get to have free hits on you.
So one of the things I'm kind of curious about is how this will affect the game and the way people play it, because I know when I was playing Soul Calibur, if someone was picking a fast character or just trying to rush me down in the corner or something, they can keep pinging at you with attacks, and I would guard it, and then when I got their tempo down, I would counter it.
Yeah.
And that would be a pretty easy way.
You get into that rhythm.
Right, to punish people that were spamming an attack. In this, since it's tied to the power meter, it kind of discourages.
Yeah, there's like a conflicting. I have a conflicting mindset when I'm playing this game, because I want to turtle up because pairing's not as easy, but then you enter this crumple state if you turtle too much. So the game pushes you to be offensive, but I don't want to do that. I want to, block attacks because somebody's picking a fast character and I'm like Astaroth or somebody.
Would you like to play as Viola?
Yeah, I'll try out Viola. Viola's pretty neat. She can set up this orb. I likened her to Bridget at one point. Bridget from Guilty Gear. She had this yo-yo. She could throw it out on the map and then leave it there and move around independently and then call it back to her. Have it do special attacks.
Yeah, that's pretty
Viola has she has a similar mechanic with her crystal ball. We'll see if I can remember any of my training mode tricks with her. That's why. Also a new character. But yeah, a lot of changes for Soul Calibur 5. And I think this game is gonna, while it definitely feels familiar at first, I think in the long run, as people mess around with it and start playing with all the different mechanics and get a feel for it, I think the pace and flow of the game is going to be very different from the ones we've seen in the past.
And that's always the thing about fighting games. I mean, we're kind of doing kind of initial reactions to some of the changes we're experiencing now, but fighting games are something that are continually changing. People learn how to use things more effectively and figure out strategies and things like that, and sort of the context of these additions changes completely over time, which is kind of the good and bad thing about fighting games, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know if you can pick up on this at home right now, but we're kind of terrible at this game right now.
Whatever, man. Speak for yourself.
The super move makes it seem like there's almost a get-out-of-jail-free card that Soul Calibur never had before, which is why I don't really like it.
Well, I like the idea of like a revenge move or like a last-ditch move, but that's never really been done properly, and I think they had an opportunity to kind of do it in this game. I mean, it would make more sense, but I don't know, just having it tied to the meter just seems kind of, I don't know, just kind of an obvious way to do it. And,
yeah.
Yeah, it feels like following the trend rather than striking your own path. And I think for me it's just not what the Soul Calibur franchise has been for me so far. And it's different and weird, and I don't like it.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
How dare you try and innovate?
I know. Why are you trying something new? Just give me what I want.
Let me pay $60 for the same game I already bought.
Yeah, just re-release 2 in HD. We'll just play that. I'll get to play as, what was this, that green guy?
Link?
No. Yes, the other green guy.
Necrid?
Yeah.
Spawn.
Todd McFarlane.
Todd McFarlane.
Necrid was orange. And he was
Your Necrid was orange.
Wow.
Whoa. But yeah, so those are some of the changes to Soul Calibur 5. I mean,
I
is
lost
this
twice and figured that was it. McShay's taken over for me now. Because I'm terrible.
Is this what they need to be doing for the game and for this series?
Can I do one more match as Siegfried just so I can feel better about myself?
So what about the new characters? Like Viola, you seem
So yeah, Viola, she has
the mechanic of
she
her
has
with
a
the-
lot of she's got a lot of interesting things you can do with. I keep doing that move on accident. I don't mean to keep doing. You can do with this ball. She has different attacks that she can do when she has the ball and when it's out. When she doesn't have the ball, she's actually pretty terrible. She doesn't have a whole lot of. She has terrible range, and she kind of is.
What is she? What's her weapon?
She's
Like a
got those
knife?
Freddy Krueger claws.
Claws?
But yeah, her moves are kind of slow and floaty and leave her open. So you have to be really careful when you don't have the orb with you. Ta-da! Zwei is
Well, first of all, what is that an acronym for?
who knows?
Well,
It's an
Zwei
acronym
is-
for the sake of
Is
being.
2 in German?
Yes,
Oh, is
but
it?
that's Z period
I
W
know,
period.
but I don't think they even know.
But you've got Zwei. He's weird, just sort of in that he can some of his moves summon this monster that comes out and strikes after. So a lot of his attacks can have like a surprising follow-up that you might not expect. But it's really more of just like a visual flair kind of thing rather than a game mechanic like Viola's. A lot of the other new characters like Zeba, you see here, or Kiba, or Zeba.
Like Sungmina.
Is basically it's
Kilik.
Kilik. And then we saw fake Taki earlier. There's also fake Cassandra and Sophidia. Wow.
Excuse me?
I don't know if that was a Kilik attack necessarily. But yeah, that's a lot of the new characters seen right now. I'm trying to think. Were there any other new? We had Ezio, obviously.
They got like a fighting vipers thing going on here.
Yeah, how so?
Look at the wall.
Oh right.
What do you mean?
Oh.
You can name like 2 things about fighting vipers.
That's true.
And that's one of them.
That's true. I did notice. So one thing that's kind of nice on that the big desolate stage. I think we saw it earlier. That's like just dark and has the moon. That stage actually doesn't have a ring. It's just a big open area. You can't ring somebody out on that, which is kind of nice.
Tekken style. You can't actually pin someone against the wall, can you?
No, you can't.
Okay.
You can't like wall juggle somebody like you
Okay.
would in a
No.
Tekken game. Eventually,
Fighting
the wall will.
We can call it what it is.
Okay, the wall will break before that starts to
Okay,
happen and fall
that's a
down.
shame.
Yeah.
Look
Siegfried's
at face.
still a monster.
So they got rid of the whole guest characters stuff. Like there's not like differences between the 360 and PS3
Well, yeah,
versions
there's
this time.
no. It's
There's no Yoda.
yeah. There's no Yoda for one and Darth Vader for the other, and then you can pay money and get both. Hayachi was actually pretty rad. I played some too over the
Heihachi
break.
was awesome. I was so amped for like a Soul Calibur versus Tekken crossover after that.
That
I thought
just
Heihachi worked well.
I thought he worked. I mean, he didn't.
You really need a
He didn't
full
have
one?
like a
You got-
long.
You got Yoshimitsu.
He didn't have like a long sword weapon like the other
Lame.
characters, but he was able to like get in there really quickly and knock you up in the air with these punches and stuff. I mean, he moved fast. He could get in close real easily, and he was a really fun character.
There's nothing like that.
I'm sorry, there's
right?
not a copy. I wish there was like a copycat Heihachi in these other games.
I especially like the way he blocked swords with his fists.
Yeah, he didn't need like a shield. He just had his hand, just the hands that God gave him.
See, now I'm thinking about using the super on you, and I'm getting hit in the process instead of just trying to fight normally.
Yeah, and there goes your meter. Man, I mean, as you can see, you guys like just don't want to parry.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't blame you. It's definitely something
Oh,
I just don't think about it anymore. Like I don't really see it as an option. I just want to bank my meter and do these single attacks that do so much damage.
Boo!
You love that cowardly foot stomp after winning.
because it's so hilarious.
It is pretty good. It's like if I won, I would have done the poking the stick in the face.
It's like you
again
just saw a
and again and
spider on the
again.
ground. He was like, no, go away, spider.
I'll take it. Oh, here, I can, I'll pick up Patroclus real quick. I remember some of his Brave Edges. So Brave Edges, just real quick, Brave Edges, or Brave Edge attacks rather, they're sort of like EX moves in a Street Fighter, sort of in the same concept, whereas they're sort of a more powerful attack that uses meter, but not as much meter or as much damage as like a Critical Edge does. So they're just sort of flashier normal attacks. Most of them, since we're using 360 gamepads, most of them are performed using the right trigger by default. That's also the button you'll use to perform the critical edges. So let's see. With Patroclus, pretty sure. Oh, I don't have any meter yet, so we'll just have to fight normally. But Brave Edges, they use a quarter of the meter. Actually, you should whoop up on me a little bit, because that's how I do meter. They use 1/4 of the meter, and most characters will have, I think every character will have 2. Some characters will have 3.
Oops.
That's okay. We got plenty of rounds to go. Also, Sylvantis, not purple anymore. Looks like
He got better.
He got
It's a
better.
skin
He got
condition.
over his zombieism. So there you go. As you can see, it said Brave Edge. I flashed yellow and performed an attack that had an automatic follow-up. So those are Brave Edges. A lot of them are pretty good about leaving the person vulnerable or open afterwards for a follow-up attack. There's another one. Those I'm not so much opposed to. Just because, I mean, it feels, that's like a...
Because they happen in the flow of gameplay.
Yeah, they happen in the flow of the fight. You don't have to stop and pause and watch a little thing happen. They don't use a lot of meter to perform. And yeah, they're just quick and simple. Whereas the critical edges are like a big deal. They use a ton of meter. And I don't know, I think they hurt the flow of the fight. Whereas these Brave Edge attacks enhance it.
I don't know, I can't remember which one it was, but one of those critical edges I landed didn't seem like it did much damage at all. It's just like...
I mean, it varies.
If these things...
like, I know Asteros, you think Asteros would do a ton of damage because he's Asteros. He's
Yeah.
a big, huge dude. His is a grapple, and when it finishes, it leaves you spinning on the ground. And so you're...
So it's more of a setup move.
Yeah,
rather
yeah.
than-
So you're set up for a follow-up hit, but it doesn't do a ton of damage on its own. Oh, there I was trying to perform a thing and messing it up.
So that's, again, having to know... I guess that's going back to knowing the characters.
Yeah, that goes back to knowing the rules.
Instead of just the system, but...
I don't know. Those are just some of our initial thoughts on the changes coming to Soul Calibur 5. This game will be coming out on the Xbox 360 and play. Oh wow, a parry! We got one in before the end of the video. All right, we'll be coming out on the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 January 31st, I believe. So you can look for it then, and you can look for the review on GameSpot.com.